With 650 miles behind us, we only had a 30-mile drive to Chignecto Campground in Fundy National Park. We were really hoping there would be an open 50-amp site there, so we packed up early to try to beat any other desperate people. Despite our disappointment at not being able to charge, our Bolt had enough range to get us into the park. But if we couldn't charge there, we'd really need one once we came back out. And when we arrived, there was one site left. But it wasn't check-in time yet. Thankfully, we had enough charge to ferry us around the park. So after April and I staved off the embarrassment of arriving at the day's road trip event wearing the same outfit, with a winnerless game of you change, no you change, off we went. As soon as we turned out of the campground, we were able to take in the absolutely gorgeous
look at it. You guys.
Papers on our dash.
Oh my gosh.
Aren't they beautiful?
Look at this massive.
This is amazing.
We went on a pretty hike, where I was finally able to break out my dad's old 8mm camera, which had been working from the time he bought it in the 1960s until exactly July 2nd, 2018, around 11 a.m. Then we hit up a beach on the edge of the park.
Oh yeah, we're on the rocks in New Brunswick.
At the beach.
At the beach, yeah.
And drove around and scoped out sites that we might have stayed at had we not needed to charge, before returning to our site, which left me wondering whether this is what we were in for, staying at sites because of electricity, not because it was the site we wanted. We are staying in an RV 50 amp unit, and my mistake on the first night was this is a 30 amp outlet. This is a 50, which is what my juice box uses. So remember, buy a 30 amp adapter if you're carrying a juice box with you to go RV camping. Okay, hold on there, Nikola Tesla. Let's back this up. The 30 amp outlet I'm pointing to is actually overkill for a Bolt, like asking Dirty Harry to provide security for a birthday party. So let's call this outlet 30 Harry.
You could ask yourself a question.
And that question should be, will the Bolt take advantage of all the amperage Harry's bringing to the party? 30 Harry wants to provide you with a lot, 30 amps in fact, but because the outlet is only 120 volts, the Bolt's charging system limits you to 12 amps. So it's no better than 30 Harry's neighbor here, 12 Monkeys.
You're here because of the system.
Brad's right. The system limits us, so we may as well be hanging with him. Now in this particular setup, I don't need either Harry or Brad, because I can plug into the 50 amp outlet, or the 50 cent of charging outlets.
I'm a gangster, Grandpa, and I'm proud of it.
And that gangster is giving me 240 volts. That's double what Harry and Brad are giving me. But if presented with only 30 Harry, like we were at our last campsite, what then? Since every Bolt comes with a cable that plugs into a standard outlet, I just need a cheap adapter for that cable, like this one, instead of an adapter for the juice box, which is 6 to 10 times more expensive. Unfortunately, the me of 2018 is still not aware of any of this. But we could breathe easy and plan on a full charge for the next day.
It's coming back this way.
Maybe this wasn't our ideal site, but it wasn't bad. Leave it to children to make lemonade when life serves up lemons. Or, to coin a phrase, plant dandelions when life serves up snakes lurking just feet away. But their joie de vivre is infectious. As we settled in for the night, I planned on a nice night's sleep, knowing our Bolt would blink itself to solid green, meaning a full charge by morning.
It is a misty morning in Nova Scotia, and we had kind of a sleep disaster with the kids last night. So everyone's really tired. It's about 6:30 in the morning. But we now have a full charge, and we have now switched over to kilometers. We have a good 400 kilometers, and we're planning on driving probably at least that today.
Our original plan was to see the southwestern half of Nova Scotia. We really wanted to see Cape Breton Island, which is the highlands of Nova Scotia, but all the DC fast charging stations we would need to get there quickly and efficiently, given our time constraints, were showing up as coming soon on PlugShare. Such a bummer. But then, a week before our trip, they all came online. We could do it.
Did you sleep okay?
But could we do it today?
No?
We have some pretty grumpy, unhappy campers right now. Not the least of which is April. Hi. Everything all right?
Yeah.
You look cute.
Thank you.
You're like an REI model.
I know, I was kind of like, this looks a little too much like an REI catalog, but...
The perfect antidotes to grumpiness are compliments, whether it's about their catalog model good looks or their impressive pinecone building capabilities, and all the creature comforts they need. But I was not willing to be caught unprepared again, so we made a quick stop at Canadian Tire for something that wouldn't help us at all.
This is a female 50 amp, what our juice box plugs into, to a male 30 amp. Not having this meant that we stayed at campsites that we didn't mean to stay at.
Not exactly.
But that was fine because they were close to our original plans and wasn't a big deal, but it would have been really nice to have one of these.
No, it would have been really frustrating.
And now we have it. So if we ever stay at another one, we'll be fine.
No, you won't, and you're embarrassing yourself. You even attempted to give this adapter some kind of musical entrance.
This.
Something we all know only one plug deserves.
J1772.
You might be asking why buy this adapter if I'll only be getting trickle charging speeds. And the answer is, I don't know that yet. I also don't know that this adapter isn't going to work at all. But we'll get to that later.
Crossing Nova Scotia. We're in Nova Scotia, guys.
We finally crossed from New Brunswick into Nova Scotia. Having scoped out our first and hopefully only charging location of the day, we decided to drive to get lunch and bring it back to the station, which was a mistake.
What happened when we got here?
Well, someone else was using it, but not for now.
There's a Model X here, so we just plugged into the L2 for a little while.
In the meantime, someone else had pulled in to charge, and he posted a photo on PlugShare with the caption, "A line forming already," which is a fun thing to post when you're at the head of the line.
Should we go play some Frisbee?
But as they say, if life serves you snakes, make dandelions. So we played Frisbee.
Whoa, are you getting dizzy?
Made the children dizzy. And finally plugged in.
Now we are finally fast charging after 45 minutes, and we'll probably charge for 45 minutes before heading to our...
We played more Frisbee, as well as everyone's favorite childhood game, bust up some rocks with bigger rocks, which is apparently so fun.
Let's go.
That even after waiting an hour and a half, you still don't want to leave.
Guys, let's go. Nothing like pounding rocks.
Stop the charge, unplug the cable, hang it up pretty.
Where's our destination?
Waikakama. Is that how you pronounce it?
And our next stop was a hostel in Waikokama, 194 kilometers away. And near the end of that stretch, when we were desperate for the sight of a red barn where we were going to stop for food, someone had had enough. despite the whole snakes and dandelions thing, push a kid to his limit, and he can turn snakes into opinions of your stupid road trip. Opinions, which are impervious to your feeble attempts at distraction.
Look, there's some people. It's a weird place. Look, guys, look at that way. It's so pretty. I know. I feel like mine hurts a little bit too. There's the barn where we're gonna get the food.
So we picked up food and spent a quick night at a hostel. The hostel owner was kind enough to let us plug into an outdoor outlet. When you're trickle charging like this, you have an option in the charging settings to draw either 12 amps or 8 amps. Having no idea what the breaker was rated at, I set it to 8 amps, not wanting to create any ill will should the breaker trip. The next morning, after we left a 5 loony tip for allowing us to plug in, we headed for Broad Cove Campground. On the way, we had a nice rejuvenating stop at a beach, which I love, because if there's something in this world that brings my daughter more joy, I haven't found it yet. But for April and I, it was like swimming in ice water. When we arrived at our 50 amp site, April and I were again disappointed. It was super exposed, not particularly scenic, but we ended up meeting a really nice family, and our kids became fast friends.
Dad, can you change it to 2 nights?
We can't because someone else booked this site.
After the children were asleep and we sat by the campfire that night, my attempts at capturing the beautiful night sky in high quality captured instead the slow progression of drinks plied upon me by our new Canadian friends. They shared with us the fable of a place unknown to us, where we could find the type of camping we were after. The place, they said, was called Meat Cove. Meat Cove, I said. Am I saying that right? Yes, they said. Meat Cove. Like meat, as in dead animal meat cove, I said. Yes, they said. And you'll have to try the chowder at the chowder hut. Why is it called Meat Cove? I asked. I never got an answer. They said a dirt road would bring us to the tip of Nova Scotia for some exceptional camping. So I asked April, should we go? And she said, it seems pretty remote. I don't want to get stuck without a charge. So then I said, we've got plenty of miles to get in and out. Maybe it's worth the risk. There are lots of beautiful places with terrible names. To which she replied, name one. To which I replied, Meat Cove, apparently. Not that one, she said. So I said, April, when life serves you meat, you make for Meat Cove.